and that she never saw Gowker. And here are her sheets on the couch to prove it. Trey had no new marijuana in his system. You heard from Dr. Burroughs Beckham that it was in his urine, not in his blood. He had smoked in the past, but not in the past approximately 3 days, and certainly not that night. So Gowker's story that he and Trey were down there, and that they'd been smoking, and that they fell into conversation about Trey's dad, is a lie. Nothing in Gowker's demeanor in court or anything else you've heard in this case gives any credence to the idea that in the middle of a school night, Trey would leave the house and go down to the creek to hang out with his mother's abusive husband. Also, I think it's well established that Trey was dead by the time that Gowker says this happened. Jeremy left when it was starting to get dark. They were about to eat when Jeremy left. Cassie left after dinner around 9. Amanda sent Mackenzie in to bathe around 9. So I think we can say they were having dinner probably around 8:30ish, but before 9. Dr. Burroughs Beckham said he was killed 1 to 3 hours after eating, 4 on the very outside. Now he and Mackenzie were showering, his mom was cleaning up. It's unlikely he got killed on the 1 hour side of this. He was still around the house at 9:30. So we look at the far end. He was killed between 10:30 and 12:30. And we know that Gowker and Amanda were at the Circle K between 1:06 and 1:09. We also know that Gowker was wearing the same clothes the next day. There he is in the store. There he is the next day at the scene. Same clothes, 34 U of L jersey. Doesn't look like it's in the dumpster of a Mexican restaurant. You also know, because Gowker has told so many lies, he can't keep his story straight. Let's review his testimony at the trial as it relates to what happened in the murder.
The details of the murder are important to you.
Some shit I've never even said that I can see vividly. Like I remember, a lot of, shit that it doesn't some shit I remember.
What's the details you remember?
I just remember that, just a lot of shit, just...
Like what?
There's some death stick, man. You want to hear that shit?
Tell us what you remember. When you did this, it shouldn't be so hard.
It's not hard.
Tell us what you remember.
It's being covered. Troy. That's it.
That's what you remember.
Yeah.
See what happens when he has to testify about the details of the murder? He can't remember what he told the court the last time. He can't keep his story straight. And up till that point, Miss White had been leading him. Her questions had been, you told the court, didn't you? You told Detective Russ, didn't you? This was the first time she just let him ramble on, and he couldn't fill in the blanks. And did you notice that he accidentally said we? There was just some shit that we, and then he cut himself off. So this play is a lie. What does that do for this case? Gowker didn't do it by himself. So now we figure out who did. Just want to point out again that he accidentally said we when discussing the murder. Who committed it? Here's a timeline, because we've needed to fall back on those over and over in this case. Late 1980s, Gowker comes to Bibb Drive. Trey is born. Sometime after that, they split. Amanda dates Gowker. Gowker already has a son, Josh Young, by Angie Young. Amanda and Terry are in a custody dispute. Amanda marries Gowker. They, along with Trey and Josh Young, are living with Gowker's mother. There's the balcony incident, and ultimately in 2002, Gowker goes to prison. Amanda has Mackenzie in the meantime, and then in the fall of 2010, Gowker gets out of prison. He contacts Amanda almost immediately. He contacts Angelique. He gets back together with Amanda. They're still technically married. Christmas Eve, Josh Young is at Amanda's house. We know there was a fight between Amanda and Gowker because she heard a call on Trey's phone. He had Trey's phone and she pocket dialed it and she heard him insulting her to Cassie. They get in a huge fight. She gets an abortion. Gowker finds out and they continue fighting. February, they're on and off. March, they're on and off. And during this whole period, Gowker is trying to establish custody of the defendant. During this period, Gowker is mad about the abortion. April, they're on and off. Sometime in April, there's the incident with Amanda and Mackenzie in the car, Gowker banging on the top of the car, and then Amanda running through the neighborhood with Mackenzie. May 8th, Mother's Day. Terry took Trey to work at McDonald's. Amanda took him home. There was a cookout at Cassie's. Amanda and Gowker are speaking again at this point, after a break of several weeks. The next day, Amanda quits McDonald's. And I do not disagree with anything Ms. Smith said about the domestic violence and the situation Amanda was in. She quits McDonald's. She and Gowker are down smoking at the creek. The next night, Amanda has a cookout. Who's there? Cassie, John, their kids, the defendant, Amanda, Gowker, Trey, Mackenzie, Jeremy, neighborhood kids. And the fact that John can't remember which neighborhood kids has nothing to do with John's credibility. They were friends of Trey and Josh Young. There was no testimony that they were friends with John's kids. John had been in the neighborhood since April. They play basketball. They find a turtle. I do not think that Josh Gowker had the power to put a turtle at the creek and cause the kids to call him and John to come down to find the turtle. The turtle is just a part of this timeline. 7:30 or 8, John leaves, starts watching a movie. Jeremy leaves as it's getting dark. Everyone else eats. 9:30ish, Cassie leaves. They all start watching the movie with John. Amanda's cleaning. She unscrews the lights. Mackenzie bathes. Trey showers. Gowker's back and forth between Amanda's and Cassie's while Amanda's cleaning. Cassie takes her medicine at 9:30. 10:30, John goes to bed. Around 10:30, Jeremy calls Amanda. Here's a male in the background. So we can assume that Amanda is with Gowker at that point. Trey comes outside, sees his mom, and goes back in. At some point, Gowker is at Cassie's, taking too long. He's down there getting his clothes, his toothbrush, whatever. They get in a fight, and Amanda ends up with those bruises that she calls hickeys. Presumably, Cassie and John are already asleep by this point. And sometime during this portion of the timeline, Mackenzie sees Trey leave. We have the bedroom, Circle K bedroom portion of the night. Amanda says she watches TV for a while after Gowker falls asleep. She hears him snoring. At that point, doesn't know if he snores the rest of the night. It doesn't matter. Gowker says that Amanda falls asleep and then he goes out to the couch to play video games. We've already established that's a lie. It has been far more than 4 hours since dinner at this point. Trey is already dead. Cassie is woken by Josh Young. She's woken by Josh Young again. She's woken again with Gowker. That's when she gets up. Because yes, she is in a relationship of some sort with Gowker at that point. When Young is waking her up and saying, I killed Trey, you need to help me, she's saying, I'm sleeping, go away. But when it's Josh Gallagher who wakes her up, she gets up. Cassie drives Young to the dumpster. Josh Young throws away the clothes in the back. The next morning, Gallagher gets up early, puts Mackenzie on the bus. Maybe he goes down to Cassie's and puts her kids on the bus. Tells John Robertson that Josh Young killed Trey. Takes Amanda to McNeely Lake and tells a realtor that they have 2, not 3, kids. Amanda finds Trey's backpack, and the frantic search for Trey begins. The police come. Detective Russ interviews Terry, the father of the victim. They've established at this point that Trey is down there. While he's interviewing Terry, Detective Maroney is interviewing Amanda and Gallagher. Gallagher starts asking Russ after that if he can see the body. Maroney interviews Young. She interviews him about the last time he saw Trey. He says he took a shower. He changed back into real clothes. He says, I was in my room and he was in the shower. And she confirms, you know he changed back into his regular clothes because you saw him after he got out of the shower? And he says, yes. This is interesting because everybody else remembers that the defendant left the cookout with Cassie as Mackenzie was going into her bath, which she took before Trey's shower. So the defendant could not possibly have seen Trey come out of the shower. How does he know that he changed back into real clothes? Because he saw him in real clothes when they snuck out together later that night. Continuing our timeline, the police investigation begins, and I'm not going to go through all of that because you've heard it through several detectives, but it was extensive and it went in all directions. The Bridgewood kids came up in the investigation, so Detective Russ investigated the Bridgewood kids. He brought them in for interviews. He confirmed their alibis. He went out at 1 in the morning to interview a foster mother so that he could confirm an alibi. He was pulling surveillance tapes. He was looking at phone records. He investigated the Bridgewood kids and eliminated them as suspects. To say that he had tunnel vision is ridiculous. He was willing to go down every fork in the road, every suspect that came up, and to rule out people that he initially thought were suspects when the evidence dictated. They were collecting things at the scene that ended up having no relevance to this case. They collected sweatpants that were up by Liberty High School because those might have something to do with it, even though it turns out they did not. They collected a sword. They collected a knife. They collected anything they thought might help this investigation. Now, I know the defense has made a point through their questioning that they did not collect every blunt object in the house. That is impossible. You cannot collect every blunt object in the house. Detective Russ told you why he eliminated those things from collection. The white pipes were hollow. The things in the garage were in the back, had cobwebs. Murderers usually don't bring their murder weapons back to the house. They have to have a reason to think that something is connected to this before they're going to collect it and test it. And they collected everything they thought, in their experience, might have a connection with this case. They didn't collect the banana. They were investigating a murder. They didn't collect the cigarette wrappers from the trash. Well, of course, Gallagher's and Amanda's DNA might be on them, and I do not think that Josh Gallagher artistically placed items in a trash can. Those were the cigarette packs they were smoking. They threw them away in the trash can. So at the same time that Detective Russ is investigating the Bridgewood kids, he's also continuing the Vim Drive portion of the investigation. May 14th, he interviewed John. John was a nervous wreck because he knows that the Joshes are involved and he can't handle the stress of lying. Detective Russ interviews Gallagher, Jeremy McFarland, May 19th. He interviews Amanda, May 29th. Through June 6th is the portion of the time when Amanda finally leaves because Gallagher has become increasingly more controlling to a crazy degree. And this is when she takes out the EPO on Gallagher. On June 10th, Detective Russ interviews Young. And in this interview, Young said that Trey said he was going in to take a shower, so Young came down to Cassie's and ended up falling asleep. He said he was going to take a shower. The cookout was ending. He went in to take a shower. Now, were you in the house when he took the shower? Because I came over here. In total contradiction to what he had said right after the murder to Detective Monroe. He mentions in this interview that he knows that Amanda and his dad were together the whole night and that they went to the gas station. Because Young and Gallagher have been talking about this. They've been planning this. He mentions that his relationship with his dad is tight. June 18th to 21st, Gallagher and Young flee south.